Stories from the Tabernacle by May Moore. Stage directions for Archbishop Romero. So for this story, I have attempted to cut out felt in the shape of El Salvador. Now, I don't know how successful this is, but that is my attempt. So my green underlay here is approximating the country of El Salvador. So that's how we're going to begin. This is where the storyteller sits, and this is the audience back here. So I'm going to do a number of things in this story that parallel the story of Daniel. And the first one is to put the rich people up on blocks, just like the king was in the Daniel story. So we'll place some blocks, and then the two rich figures are purple, just like the king's cape in the Daniel story was purple. So that's how the story starts, with the rich figures up on the blocks. And then there's lots of other figures that I painted that are going to be the people of El Salvador, and they're all going to be lower down than the people who have the power. So they're all going to be placed closer to the audience. They're going to be on this side of the kind of rich figures. And I painted them all in the colors of the El Salvadorian flag. So that's what their color scheme is. So they'll be placed in front of the people like that. And then when we talk about how they worked together, we're just going to group them together like that. And then when we say that sometimes they were killed, pick like one person from this group. Whoops, I knocked over two. Maybe knock over one person from that group and one person in this group. And then the people, when we say that they go to church, here's my priest figure. This is Father Grande. He's got black with the tiny suggestion of the collar. And let's stand him up in the front over here. And then we're going to move some people towards him as if they're sort of part of his congregation. They're listening to him preach up front here. And then we're going to knock him over to show that he was also killed. Then we're just going to pause and let that sink in. But then we will remove the figures that have been knocked over, Father Grande and these two figures. And then we're going to introduce the figure of Romero. He's going to wear white, a sign of being an archbishop, and he wears the cross around his neck. And we're going to stand him first as if he is speaking to these people, the people who have all the power. So he's going to be facing away from the audience at the beginning. And he's going to kind of appeal to them. You can sort of put out your hands to say, like, he appealed to them, and then them, and then them. He appealed wider and wider and wider, and they just ignore him. So just turn them around. Even though they don't have faces, it's hard to tell which way they're facing. But to say they're not going to listen to him. And then when it's clear that Romero cannot talk to these people, he's going to go talk to other people. He's going to visit the people of El Salvador. So you're going to move him around, like to this group. He's going to stand with them. And then maybe move him over here to talk to this group. And then we're going to move him right here and move the people in front of him as if, they're at a church service together. So now all of these people are going to come over. He's going to be facing towards the audience. And here's the church service, the text that he read. I made just a little tiny book with the text both in English and in Spanish from John 12. And then you can read it from here. It'd be great if you had a Spanish speaker who would read it in Spanish. And then in English, unless the grain of wheat falls to the earth and dies, it remains only a grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. And then after that, we talk about how Romero was shot. So we're going to knock him over. And then we're going to bring the tomb back, just like in the story of Daniel. We're going to place it over here. And we're going to move his body into the tomb like this. And then we're going to move these people around the tomb so they're kind of standing outside his tomb and in opposition to the people of power, even though they're still below them. They're not up on the blocks. And we leave these people up on the blocks to show that they were still in power, but that these people knew that Romero loved them enough to die for them.